And we are recording.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another week of Getting Back to Work. It is week 15. For the 15th time, thank you, Openpath, for making this possible. We're coming at you with some really good articles. As you already know, if you work from home, boom, this is what it's going to be about. I am Bert, the graphic design warrior, with my lovely co-host.
Hi, I'm Mandy.
So to kick us off, I think I am going to start with the very first article for today, which is called Future If Work. What does the ideal working week look like? And it is brought to us by All Work. The author for this article is Cecilia Amundor de San Jose. Forgive me if I mispronounced your name. The article discusses the findings of a Work There survey that surveyed 1,000 office workers in the UK about what their ideal work week looked like. The findings. In 2019, Work There found that the average UK worker was working 38 hours a week. In 2020, the study reported that a 16% decrease in weekly hours, with the average worker only working 32 hours per week. The 2020 study also found a difference in hours worked by age group, with older workers working more per week, those boomers. Workers 45 through 54 prepare working the most 36%, followed by the 35 to 44 age group, 34 hours a week. This finding of older workers working more was also emphasized by the participants' desire to shorter hours, with 86% of workers 25 to 34 saying they would prefer to work weeks of less than 38 hours, compared to 78% of 45 to 50-year-olds saying the same. The study also asked a question about flexible working arrangements. The survey found that 29% of workers had flexible working arrangement pre-COVID, but 47% of these participants expected these arrangements to continue into the future. These results also vary by age, demographics, with 58% of 35 to 44-year-olds expecting a flexible arrangement versus 16% of participants 65 years and older. The study predicts that because younger workers now have the expectation for flexibility, that this pushes for flexibility in the workplace. This push for flexibility in its workplace will continue into the generations to come. Although the survey reported workers wanting more flexibility and shorter hours, it also showed that workers across all age groups miss the office, with 40% of respondents saying they miss social aspects of the office and 23% stating they miss bouncing ideas off of colleagues. In this study, it was actually younger workers who missed the office the most. Wow. With 80% of 25 to 34-year-olds responding this way. This study suggests that organizations should be mindful about workers' expectations around flexibility and weekly working hours, but they should keep in mind that workers also see the value of being in the office, and predicts that the hybrid model of both working from home and from the office will be around for a very, very long time. Oh, interesting. Very interesting.
Sure, for sure. And I think what we were talking about a little earlier is that I feel like we don't necessarily need a giant decrease in the number of hours we're doing. I think we just also need to start accounting for the fact that we now have all these great automation tools,
yes,
that have made our that can help make our work lives and work weeks shorter. So, we're taking advantage of them, and, here and there, we're probably having some more room and to breathe here and there. And it's not the worst thing, but I think we should take that into account, when we're thinking about these work week hours. And like I think you also said at one point, it should be about quality, right?
Yeah.
Quality number of hours that you're working versus quantity. As you're driving home and you're working hard, you're driving home an idea really well, and you're working hard and you're working your butt off during those hours that you're working, and you're
Yep.
putting the time in, and you're being just as efficient, and
Absolutely.
it's solid work that's being produced. Then, maybe we could afford some earlier, shorter work weeks. Who knows? But
I know. I know, right? Being able to come in the office and get more done in 40, oh, well, in 30 hours compared to 40 hours, which is, the kind of standard. And I know people who work way more than that, but just having those like, all right, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to get, all my work done in this 30 hours windows, opposed to me like, well, I went to work and I like wasted an hour because I couldn't think about, this, I just was in a rut. But with the idea of having a shorter work week, people can probably, put more into it. I know in other countries, they have something called a siesta where people can, take a little bit of a longer break so they can come back to work recharged
yeah,
and, supposedly get more done.
yeah, no, exactly. All right, so I will go
All
ahead
right.
on with our second article here. This is from Enterprisers Project,
Okay.
which is a community helping CIOs and IT leaders solve problems. Cool stuff they have on
Hmm.
their site. I recommend it. Check it out in your spare time if you can. The article is called Seven Remote Work Sins and What to Do Instead. And this is by Stephanie Overby. And what I like about this article is that it doesn't just point out seven bad habits we might all be guilty of while working from home, but it also offers ways of curbing them. These bad habits, once we understand that we do them,
Yeah.
we have this list of tips that can help guide us in figuring out the better way of actually tackling certain bad habits. So, to start, the first bad habit here is failing to develop a new routine. So, work from home life can quickly, and we all know this, can quickly become unstructured and chaotic without a strong daily routine. So, to ensure top productivity, employees should work hard to create and stick to a schedule, like commit to a certain set of hours a day and commit to waking up and going to sleep the same hours. It's treat it like you are still in the office minus the commute.
Yep.
That is the best thing to do here, they recommend. And have an agenda, know what you're doing that day. The next bad habit is micromanaging others' work routines. So, of course, it can be hard to shift the mindset away from needing to see people working to believe that they actually are working. But this is an important shift in leading a successful virtual team. The good habit alternative here is naturally learning to let go. Leaders' time will be better spent modeling their own remote leadership and working habits versus just spending and wasting time worrying about how much people are working. So, and of course, trust here is a big thing too. Employees appreciate trust. So, then also create an environment of trust and instill the need to be committed to
Yeah.
doing work. Bad habit number 3, not creating a dedicated workspace. So I know all about this. I jump around a lot. And I know a bit that, yeah, failing to divide your space into work and relaxation zones as I sit on the couch can erode boundaries and make work life balance even harder. So the way to curve this is to not follow my example and to actually set up, dedicated working spaces. Unless you're like me and that you actually you're able to shift that mindset no matter where you are.
Yeah.
But they recommend you can, build a blinders or dividers for pretty much anywhere you are, whether it be you're sitting at a kitchen island or maybe you're sitting at the coffee table, who knows. um, but they recommend just trying to make sure, even roping off, I think they recommended like the area somehow, in whichever way. We can all be creative, but just creating a way to make that space, that dedicated space, and sticking to it, And then we got bad habit number 4, negative thinking and self doubt. And I'm sure a lot of us are probably experiencing this a bit. It's difficult times. Negative thinking and self doubt can come in. When working remotely, it is easy to fall into bad habits or patterns in terms of the way we are thinking. Doubts creep in about our abilities, and limiting beliefs come back when we don't get the social validation we are used to in the office. So, the good habit alternative they recommend here is to retrain your brain. Your ability to learn how to silence these patterns or limiting habits and retrain them into productive thought patterns will make the difference between a good day and a great day.
Wow.
Bad habit number 5. I know, right? It's so simple that, helps our productivity is our mindset. So number 5 is replicating in-person meeting schedules and cadence remotely. Like, oof. Longer meetings can work fine in an in-person setting, the article says, but in a virtual environment, fatigue sets in after an hour, and often even sooner if the calendar is filled with meetings.
Yeah.
So the back-to-back meeting syndrome is deadly in the office, but it's even deadlier when you are remote. Yep. The good habit here to do instead is, of course, to create meeting cushions. Give yourself and your teams a break here and there. Especially, schedule those breaks too. When your teams are going to be on back-to-back calls, just try to help there where you can, and don't be afraid to kill needless meetings. That's another thing, because that's a big sin right there, is needless meetings. That's a waste of time, right? We can all agree on that. Bad habit number 6 is neglecting casual connections. So we all have these interpersonal interactions, and very much so in the physical office. So typically, it was easy and naturally occurring when we're out and about and in the office, and we had the water cooler in the kitchen where we're grabbing coffee. But now, it's hard to maintain these connections, of course, because we're not in person. So the good habit here, obviously, maybe not so obvious, but is to develop your own virtual water cooler protocol. Make an effort to informally check in with everyone you work with to simulate those conversations you might normally have had in the office. Video is another great way. Bert and I know all about that. Anything helps. Slack messages, phone calls, texting. Just try to schedule informal one-on-ones even with your core group. Try and keep these conversations too a bit less on work. Kind of stray away from work topics, actually. Keep it personal, interpersonal. Connecting on a personal level is an important, though often overlooked, component of business relationships, the article adds. And then finally, bad habit number 7. We know a lot of us know about this one too, is always being on. When your commute is diminished to mere steps, there can be an expectation that we're always available. And we can't really set that. That always on mindset can infect entire teams, and being tethered to work can foster a bit of resentment, burnout, and ultimately lower productivity, ironically enough, especially for leaders and their teams.
Yeah.
And of course, a way to curb this habit is to close your virtual door. As you work to keep the lines of communication open for informal talks, balance this with time for yourself, just to think. Turn the phone off, maybe hop off of Slack, put an away message on Slack or something, but do what you got to do to take some time. Block some time on your calendar as an appointment so people know when you can be reached and when you can't be reached. If you do this, you will, as a leader and even your fellow or just anyone in the office, you're modeling for everyone around you that it's okay to not always be on. It's a healthy mindset. It's a healthy, trying to strike that healthy balance,
Absolutely.
It's really important. So, yeah, and that was it for that article from me.
I find it quite interesting because as a person who started working remotely
Mm-hmm.
way before the pandemic, I went through quite a bit of those pointers of working better. Like I had
Yeah.
the negative the negative thoughts or the self doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had the change up in routine or whatever, or in sticking to a schedule, and definitely the going stir crazy and the going stir crazy and the going stir crazy. It's just fascinating, like hearing about that, because now everyone is like, well, most people are in the same boat of like having to have to make that adjustment or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think that's a great article to lead us into our final article for today, which is our third and very last one. And this article is brought to us by Fortune, and it is titled, Want to Know How to Work from Home Better? There is a course for that. And the author of this article is Michael Leverum. And in his article, Michael discusses how an online resource has been created to help people work from home much better. And guess what? This article is absolutely free. Music to my ear. The newly launched online course from a web based learning service, Coursera, is called How to Manage a Remote Team. Interesting. The curriculum was developed by the business software maker GitLab to help countless companies that have sent their workers home during the pandemic. GitLab is known for being remote. It knows a thing or two about being remote because the company employs 1,300 employees and is in more than 65 countries, and doesn't have a single office. Fascinating. The company also has a remote work Bible. Fancy, fancy, fancy. And this remote work Bible consists of 7,000 pages. And it's called the GitLab Team Handbook. And this is also free online if you want to check it out on their website. Fascinating. 7,000 pages of the ins and outs of working
Yeah.
remote. Wow. Wow.
All of your questions. Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Anything that one person might, if I decide to work in my vehicle one day, I'm pretty sure there are pages in there about that. It's like, hey, make sure you recline the seat. Make sure you have your Wi-Fi. Fascinating. Fascinating. Oh, so this course. Because Sarah describes this curriculum as a self-guided experience, though there are opportunities to network and to collaborate with other students via online forums. Completing this course only takes about 11 hours. Yes, it comes with quizzes too. So this is the real deal, Holyfield. You
Yeah.
about to be a student, you about to learn. Fascinating.
Certified work from home.
Ooh, I'm about to graduate. Woo! 11 hours. All right, there we go. I love it. I love this. So the series, the series of these courses always start with like, some basic questions like, what is remote work? And what are the benefits of working remote? These are all the questions that are being asked. Interesting. And to that end, the GitLab course also comes with many tips and takeaways on how to hire a global workforce that is not tethered to a particular geographic location. And one of the videos that they have that relates to that is titled Hiring for a Remote Role by Jessica Reeder, a GitLab executive, who focuses on the company's remote content, it suggests, avoiding micromanagers or those who need to be micromanaged because, you're remote. You should look for, people who are hiring people to work remote should look for people who are a little bit more self-sufficient, and it'll save them some time. Some people who can just, take direction and go with it and not necessarily need to, you know,
Guidance.
be constantly, all right, handheld. Um,
Mhm.
and that pretty much gives a general overview of this article. There are a lot of tidbits and droplets in there that I left because I want you to go and read the article for yourself. Find these. And that is, my friend, the third article. What did you think about that one, Manny?
No, I think that's great. I think a lot of us already know, the benefits and what exactly remote work is, but it sounds like it could be pretty helpful for those of us who are just trying to navigate this whole craziness, and we're not, those individuals that are not used to this kind of way of working and they miss the office and it's killing them, and this might be able to help them and open up their mind and understand the process and how this all works, and that it's possible. It's very possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I have some friends who I can like, hey, you have some questions about working remotely? Guess what? I know a place that has 7,000 pages on working remotely. And it's free.
Impressive. That's impressive. Oh man. That's like
Anyways.
the Atlas Shrugged of remote work.
Oh, God. Just like 7,000 pages. Gosh, Lee. Anyways, for the people who are here at 3 o'clock, thank you so much. Leave some questions. I know we're not technically live right now, but you are definitely live in our hearts.
Yes. Leave some questions.
Leave those questions. And also, again, thank you, Openpath, for bringing this, for the 15th time. Definitely subscribe. Don't miss out. FOMO is a real thing. You should say something down here at the bottom about, all the information about these articles and about subscribing.
Yes,
Andy?
All right. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. This has been another fantastic GBTW. All right.
Woo, woo, woo. Until we meet again.